A heavily discounted supermarket pork chop looks unremarkable on a dinner plate, but the physical appearance of industrial meat hides a highly engineered, deeply compromised biological history. To truly understand the origin of that meat requires looking at Smithfield Foods. They pioneered the industrial production model that has since been exported to every corner of the global meat market. Within these windowless facilities, pigs live in wall-to-wall pens on slatted floors. There is no access to sunlight, fresh air, or earth, only the toxic atmosphere of high-density confinement. Forcing animals into extreme immobility and poor air quality systematically destroys their immune systems. In these dense quarters, a single pathogen can rush through a population of thousands in days. To counter this vulnerability, producers rely on pharmaceuticals as structural, load-bearing elements of the system. Without continuous pharmaceutical intervention, these biologically compromised animals would likely die before reaching a profitable slaughter weight. The low price of supermarket meat is a direct result of this pharmaceutical life support. You are buying a product of a broken biological system that cannot function without a constant chemical pulse. Global antibiotic distribution is heavily skewed toward agriculture. Current estimates show that 73% of all medically important antibiotics sold worldwide are fed to livestock. These drugs, including penicillins and tetracyclines, belong to the same critical classes that doctors rely on to treat life-threatening bacterial infections in humans. In the United States, federal records show 6.1 million kilograms of these medically important drugs were sold for livestock use in a single year. Saturating millions of animals with low-level antibiotics creates an ideal environment for natural selection. The bacteria that survive this exposure mutate rapidly into highly resistant strains that standard medicines can no longer treat. These superbugs escape the industrial farm through waste lagoons and agricultural runoff. Millions of bacteria enter the water systems and the air every day, contaminating the environment for surrounding communities. By 2050, drug-resistant infections are projected to kill 10 million people annually. This global health crisis is a primary externalized cost of the industrial meat model, which utilizes the same medicines currently failing in our hospitals. Beyond environmental contamination, the conditions of the farm degrade the nutritional quality of the meat itself. Human health is a downstream product of what an animal ate and how it lived. Animals in extreme confinement live in a state of chronic physiological distress. This forces their bodies to constantly release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline as part of a permanent fight-or-flight response. These stress hormones and pharmaceutical metabolites remain deposited within the muscle tissue long after slaughter. Biochemically, pasture-raised meat is rich in omega-3s and vitamin E. Feedlot meat, however, is defined by inflammatory markers and pharmaceutical residues. Consuming this industrial meat introduces these compounds directly into your gut microbiome, the bacteria responsible for your metabolic health. Choosing industrial meat provides a daily input of compounds that contribute to chronic systemic inflammation and metabolic disease. The industry argues that heavy antibiotic use is essential for food security, yet the published scientific evidence says otherwise. In 2006, the European Union banned the use of antimicrobials as growth promoters. Following the ban, production levels in major exporting countries remained stable. The pharmaceutical load used in U.S. operations is a choice maintained to protect corporate profit margins, not the food supply. You can opt out of this system by purchasing less meat and focusing on verified, higher welfare sources. Transparency and provenance is the first step toward better nutritional outcomes. Reclaiming your diet involves learning to use the whole animal, cooking from scratch with cheaper cuts, simmering nutrient-dense bones and organ meats. Taking control over what enters your bloodstream is a final and entirely decisive act of your personal health. What you put on your plate is not a neutral act.